Great. Welcome to the 24th Annual Capitol Conference Virtual Edition. It is our goal that each session is about an hour in length. However, we may go a little longer or we may be shorter. My name is David Stevens. I'm the Director of Academic Activities for UIL. Also helping with this session is Belinda Munoz, Administrative Assistant for UIL Academics. You often hear through over email, but now you can see her face. This session is Computer Applications, Getting Started and Doing Well. Our presenters are Linda Tarrant, State Contest Director, and Beth Motter. Linda and Beth, welcome, and thank you very much for being willing to share your wisdom and knowledge with our attendees in this new format of Capitol Conference.
All right, let's go ahead and get started.
I think Beth is going to do most of the talking, and I'll just get a little bit out of the way and make comments as we go. So you can get right in the middle.
Great. So what is the contest composed of? First, it's a 5-minute tiebreaker, and it's a simple typing test, and this may include other elements such as adding hyphens, or sometimes there's a table, inserting tabs, or accented words. So some elements are included in that. And there's a 3-minute preview time. During this time, you can mark up the test. Some students break up formulas, highlight things that they want to make sure they get done first. So be sure to utilize this time to make sure that the test goes as smoothly as possible for you. The 30-minute test, it consists of step-by-step instructions. There's usually 2 printouts, and this can be either from Word, Excel, or Access. What's included in a typical test? These are a few combinations of what you could encounter. There's Excel printouts, Word documents with Excel charts and formulas. The tests earlier on in the fall are mostly Excel or Word focused. As they get more difficult, Access and difficult concepts of Access will be encountered. So Access reports, this can include a Word document with Access data and formulas, Excel and Access printouts with merged data in Word, Access printouts, Excel chart creations, and embedding them into the Word document. This also includes Excel data entry, importing into Access for a report, and Word document with chart with formulas. And Excel and Access can be in either order for these printouts. Required equipment, you'll need a computer, laptops only, no desktop PCs. If possible, make sure to use a laptop only for UIL computer applications. That way some students who share computers don't have to worry about locating their computer during a contest. Computers may not be networked to another or connected to the internet. You will need a portable printout, and we only use black ink, so you don't need to worry about using colored ink. Flash drive, this is required mostly for grading. If we have a discrepancy or need to pull up the flash drive, that's what we utilize that for. You also need paper, and we no longer use Microsoft Office 2010. So we use 13, 16, 19, or 365, and of course 365. Updates are constantly happening on that program. We haven't really noticed any difference between the 13, 16, and 19. So any of those are a good option. Optional equipment, a mouse. The more you can utilize a keyboard, the better. Using a mouse, it takes a bit more time during the test. So knowing shortcuts will definitely get you farther in this contest. Copy stand, where you can put your printouts so you can have them at eye level and not be distracted between the keyboard and the paper. Power strip, we recommend at, let's say, state, we spread out across the room, so sometimes we need to access an outlet that's further away. Pencil highlighters and labels, which are used for the 3-minute preview. And when to practice? Often, at least once a week, earlier in the fall. Practice outside of school, 1 night a week for an hour, at home when you can. Practice as a team. This would be good for coaches. If you notice your team struggling on a certain concept, you can spend more time focusing on that specific topic. How to practice. Don't just work tests. There's a typical topic list, which is in the Computer Apps Handbook. There's a list. So it's broken down into Excel, Access, and Word, and you can focus on each of those. Make sure you master all of those elements as they could appear on any number of our tests. Practice a skill you did poorly on the last contest. Don't always time your practice tests. You can walk through them slowly to learn the skills, and then you can also stop and ask for help. There are 5 downloadable lesson plans on our page on the UI website, and these are a little more informative than just walking through a test. They do have figures, and they break down formulas in more depth. So I would definitely check out each of those. And also the FAQs on the UI website, and those may be able to answer some of your in-depth questions. And most of this is covered in the handbook as well. Repetition, work the same test multiple times, work without a time limit, and then as you continue to get better at the test, start timing yourself, and work each test until it can be completed within that 30 minutes. Again, the typical topic list is a good checklist. Make sure you're comfortable doing each skill. And there's a nice feature in both Access and I think it's in Word and Excel. Like if you type in a formula in the builder, it will send you a link to Office support to help you break down that formula or better understand that concept. Explore the alternatives, and we're going to go over some of that in the upcoming tests that we walk through. So you can use the builder, you can type directly into a cell, so those type of things. Get UIL practice packets. They're available on the UIL store. I think there's state, district, is there district
All
tests?
of them are. There's a packet of them every year, and you can get some of the older packets too.
Okay. And of course, the handbook, you can download this on the computer applications page on UIL. Know all the rules, and especially templates are important. These are memos, letters, have all of these on your computer. So once you get to the Word portion of the test, you can pull up that template and type directly into it, and everything is already formatted for you. Some strategies. Use the 3-minute preview wisely. Again, this is breaking down formulas, highlighting. Again, the templates. Another recommendation is having format switches. I think we've included those in the files for this session. It includes some merge codes that you encounter in our tests. So you can simply take those from your template and put them into your template. Do the Word document first. You can score more points this way. Even if it is at the end of the test, that's where the 3-minute preview comes in handy. Highlight that. Go ahead and type the text portion and get that out of the way. If you don't have time to embed a chart, print it from Excel. If you don't know it, just fake it. The more things you have included, the better off your grading is going to be. Print everything you do. Fast, almost correct, and finished is better than slow, perfect, and not finished. And attend lots of contests. This is where you're going to experience more elements and figure out what you need to focus on. Computer problems during contest, raise your hand to get help. If the problem can't be solved, there's no recourse. If it's a printer problem, save off into your flash drive. And then once the contest is over, we will go ahead and print that after the contest. Pick your best printouts. Whatever you put into your folder, that is what you want to be graded. Make sure each printout has your contestant number. If you have a charter graph that didn't get into the document, submit it. Also, turn in your flash drive and make sure the flash drive has your contestant number on it. We usually hand out like a little sticky note that you can write your contestant number on to include with your flash drive. And then off to grading. So if you have any questions, here's our contact information. Make sure you include your actual attempt. And this includes any files you're working with. Email the instructions, that way we don't have to go and pull up the test, and we will figure out the problem and help you figure out what you're missing. And then there's our contact information. All right, good luck and hopefully see you at state. Okay, now we're going to work through one of our tests.
Here it is.
Okay, and this should be included in the handouts. This is session 1, new to computer applications. And we're going to create a database named session 1.
If you have a problem, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. And if any of you are trying to do this along with us, we'll be glad to do do-overs. We can always undo and get back to the start and do it again. Meanwhile, here we go.
Okay, so now we need to create a table in design view named team. And you can do this a couple ways. You can right click on your table and go to design view, or click the drop down here and click design view. And we're going to name it team. Click OK. And now we're going to add the fields and field properties shown on the instructions. And the first one is name. And we're going to remove the primary key. So you can either right click, and name is a reserved word in Access, so just click OK. And you can either right click and click primary key, or there is an option here. So once that is removed, we're going to format as short text and 30 characters. And there is a shortcut key. It's F6, and it bumps you down to the bottom. And type in 30 characters. And the next field is birth date. And this is formatted as date time. And it's going to be a short date. So under format, you can simply type in S and short date will come up, or there is a drop-down menu here. And next is the month field. And this is also a reserved word, so just click OK. And month is a number. And again, that shortcut key is F6. And this is a long integer. And it's a fixed number with 0 decimals. Okay, the next field is age. And this is a number. And I'll use the drop-down menu this time. This is a long integer and fixed with no decimals. And next we have age bracket. And this is a short text with 25 characters. Okay, so now we're going to go to datasheet view, and you can do that by right-clicking for the drop-down. And yes, we want to save our table. And now we input the data shown from the instructions. And if you use your arrow key to go down, most students find that it's easier to type into one column, and it saves some time. Okay, and now we're going to enter the birth date. Once you're done typing these in, make sure that you double check that everything is spelled correctly and you haven't mistyped any numbers. And this will save you a lot of hassle later. Okay, and I'm just gonna save my table. And now we're gonna create an update query in design view. And you're gonna go to the create tab and go to query design. And make sure you select your table. And Access has moved some things around, I've noticed, with an update. I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but now you click the table name on the right-hand side. It used to be a dialog box that entered in the middle of the screen. So we're gonna use an update query, and that's a little different from the default. Right now we're in a select query. A select query is mainly a filter. An update query, we're going to actually change fields in our team table. So once this is done, it can't be reversed. So make sure you click update, and notice we have the update to field, so we know we're in an update query. We're going to update the month field, and there's a couple ways you can select it. You can double click, you can click and drag, or there is a drop down here. So we're updating the month field, and then make sure you're in the update to space. And there's a couple ways to update this field. You can either type directly into this space here or use the expression builder. We're just gonna type directly because this is a simple formula. The more you can type directly in here, the more time you can save. So just type in month and the formulas will appear. So double click month. And we're updating the month field by using the month function, and then we're using birth date as the parameter. So to type in birth date, we're gonna use square brackets. So Access knows that it's a field. And make sure you close it with closing parentheses. And I'm gonna open this up a little. So there we have our formula. And I'm gonna go ahead and run it just so you can see. And we're updating 3 rows. Click yes. And if we go look at our team table, we can see that the month function pulled the month from the birth date field. Okay. Now we're going to update the age field. So use your preferred way to select the age field. Again, you can type directly in here. This time we're going to use the expression builder. And there's a couple ways to access that. You can right click, but make sure you're in the update to space and go to build. Or under design, you can go to builder. Or there is a shortcut key, and that is Control F2. And the expression builder pops up. So once we're there, we're going to use a date diff function. So let's go ahead and find that. Of course, you can just type it in to locate it, or Under functions, go to built-in functions. Make sure you're in the expression values and just type in date diff. And this is where you can find a detailed explanation of the formula, and it will bring you to the internet. But this is the function that we want. And for the first parameter, for interval, we're going to use year. And to format that, we're going to use quotations, and that formats that as text. For the date one parameter, we're going to use the birth date field. And again, we can just type it directly with brackets, like that. Or we can select it from our table. So go to your table. Under tables, find your table, and then you can select the birth date field by double clicking. And as you can see, it's connected to the table name. So this is our table, and then this means it's the birth date field from that table. Okay, and then the date two parameter is December 31st, 2019. And to format that as a date, we're going to use the pound sign in the beginning and after. And we're going to delete these extra parameters that we do not need. I'm just going to close up that space. So this is what our formula should look like. So click OK. And I can open that up so y'all can see. And we're going to run it. So click run. We're updating 3 rows. Click yes. If we go look at our team table, we can see the age of each of these people. Okay. And now we're going to update the age bracket. And I double clicked it too many times, so I'm just going to highlight it and hit delete. Okay, and now we're going to use an if function, and I'm going to show you a breakdown of that formula. Okay, so this is the statement pattern of the if function. If you can understand this portion, you can pretty much understand any if function. So we have our decision parameter. So this is what we're trying to decide. Value if true. So that means that if this is true, then this is false. So this kind of breaks down what we're about to figure out for the age bracket.
Bring these guys back up. I just dragging them back up. There you go.
Okay.
For now.
So now we're going to go back. And I'm going to use the expression builder just so it's easier to see. And it helps us break down the function. So I'm going to go to functions, built in, and I'm going to type in if and double click. So the expression, this is what we're going to try to figure out. So we're going to use the year function with the birthday parameter. And to do that, you can either type in year and the formula will appear, or you can type it in here. So double click year. And then we're going to use the birth date parameter. And again, you can type it in with square brackets, or you can select it from your table. And I'm going to use a closing parentheses because this is just the parameter for the year function, and we're still in the expression. So for the next part, we need to see.
You need to test what is the real question.
Yeah.
What is the
that's
decision
next.
parameter?
So we're testing to see if the result is less than 1959.
So you have to get inside that. Yeah.
Okay, so 1959. So this is our expression. And now we're going to the true part. And so if the value is true, we're going to type in possible retirement. Make sure that you use quotations to format as text. And I'm just going to put in a null character right now, which is just 2 quotations, so we can see just this first part. And click OK. And I'm going to run. Yes. So we can see only one person is up for possible retirement. So that value, if true, is for only one person. And we'll go back to so this was our decision parameter. If yes, they're up for possible retirement. And so the next part, we're going to see what if this is no.
Go on down and show them the next.
Okay.
Go down, page down. There you go.
Okay. So if no, we want to see if the birth date is greater than 1985. And if it is, they're going to be in a young group. And if they aren't, they're going to be in a mid group. So this is our second if statement, and we're just going to put that in with our first one here. Okay, so I'm just going to click on my formula again and go back to the builder. So in the false part, we're going to do another if statement.
Let's just copy the first one.
And we can just copy that since it's the same. Okay, so if the birth date field, we want to see if it is greater than 1985. And the value of true is young group. And the false part is mid group. And we'll need 2 closing parentheses because we have 2 statements going on. Okay, click OK. And run. If we look at our table, we have 1 young group, 1 mid group, and 1 possible retirement.
Let's just stop and see if they have any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions at this point?
I'm seeing a head shake.
You can unmute yourself if you'd like.
Beth, I have a question in the box that says, show me your formula again, please.
Yes. For the age bracket, or I can do that. That might help.
Yeah. There you
Is
go.
that better? Does anyone need more time with this?
While they're looking at it, I did have another question in the box that asked, in what version of Office do you make the test key?
Usually I'm writing in 365, so the latest version. But we have other computers that have older versions, and we take it in some older versions.
And then I think this was also in the when we were back in Office Word. It said, "Is there a shortcut key combo to get back to the top?"
Unfortunately not. It's only to go to the bottom. So I guess if you have your cursor strategically placed at the top, you could just continue to click.
No, there used to be a way to do it, and they discontinued it about 4 or 5. I don't know, it went way back when. But no, you
There was a
at the top, you have to put the cursor back.
comment from someone that said perhaps the F6 button, but you have to click it 4 or 5 times.
What?
They weren't.
You should just be able to click one time. It will send you to the bottom.
Okay. That's all the questions we have in the chat box so far.
Okay, well, we're going to continue.
We need some harder questions than that.
Well, here they come. You stirred up the pot. See, one says, I didn't think 365 had access.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I guess the only difference is it's constantly updating compared to like Office 2019. So if they have a new feature, it's going to go directly to Office 365, whereas 2019, that's already downloaded on your computer and they cannot update.
And then Beth, I don't know if you can see the last comment in the box from Shelley there. She has a formula she posted asking what's wrong with that.
We can't find the chat box.
Chat.
There we go.
Okay.
It should be the very bottom last.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
There, it looks like these commas don't need to be there, right?
Yeah, you don't need a comma before the greater than or less than in either IF statement.
Here, I can pull it up again too. So it looked like you had extra commas here and here.
Does it work if you take them out, Shelley?
Great. Okay, so we're going to save the query. So just click save, and it's going to be update query. And if you look at this in datasheet view, these are all the fields that we've updated. And because we've updated each of these fields in the team table, that is also where they're located. Okay, now we're going to create a select query. So I'm gonna.
And those are the two main types of queries. The select is simply a filter. In order to see the results of a select, you have to run it again and again. The update query changes your data and it can't be unchanged. But those are the two main queries. If your kids can learn to build a table and use a select and an update query, they will be way ahead of the game when they go to contests. Keep going.
Okay. Under the Create tab, go to Query Design. And add your table. And if you had more fields here, you can use this arrow to extend it to view them, but we only have a few. And we are already in the default, which is the select query. Again, if it was an update, you would have to click update or crosstab or append, depending on which query you're using. So we're going to use all fields from the select query, and you can do this by either clicking each one and they will go directly to the bottom, like that, or if you double click on your table name and click and drag, if you put it in the right spot, it should go.
Just delete that first one.
I'm making this harder than it has to be. Okay, so double click and it highlights all of them. And if you put it in the first one, they should all go, theoretically. Okay, so we have all the fields from the team table. We're going to sort in descending order on the age field. So over here, you notice it says sort. So under the age field, sort in descending order. And we want, for the criteria, we want to select all fields that are greater than 25. So just simply type in greater than 25. Okay, and we're going to run our query. And you can see that the criteria said we wanted all ages greater than 25. And I'm going to save my query as cell query. So this is a filter. This hasn't changed our team table at all. It is still the same. Okay, now we're going to use the report wizard. So under create, go to report wizard. And we need to select all fields from the team table. So under the dropdown, under tables and queries, make sure you select the team table. And we want all fields. So you can use the double arrow, and this selects all of them. If we only wanted a few, we could use the single arrow, and you can also send them back if you mistakenly added one. So we want all fields. Click next. We want to use no grouping. So we're not going to do anything for the grouping, and click next. We do want to sort on birth date. So use the drop down and select the birth date in ascending order. Next. We're going to use tabular layout with landscape orientation. And next. For the title, we're going to use team members. And we're going to modify the report, but let's go ahead and preview just to see. So this is a preview of our report, and this is where I like to just double check that the margins are at 1 inch. And we have them set as custom margins, but you can also go to page setup and under margins, make sure they're all at 1 inch. It would be useful to have this set as your default margins on your computer for all Excel, Access, and Word. So these are at 1 inch. So now we're going to go to design view, and you can right click. There are other views. I'll show you layout view a little bit later. Okay, once we're in design view, we're going to add a header. And to do that, we're going to use a label. Make sure you're using the label and not the text box. The text box is used to add fields and like calculate formulas. And we just want a label. So click and drag somewhere in the right-hand corner and type in your header. And this is session 1. Now we need to format the header, and there are a couple ways to do that. You can click off of it, click on and make sure it's highlighted, and you can use your arrow keys to position it right in the corner. Or you can align it. The page number is already aligned on the right margin, so we're just going to highlight both of these. If you use your control key, let me do that again. So just click on your header, hold the control key down and click on the page. Right click, and you can go to align, right. And you can see it's aligned on the right margin now. And click off, and click on the header again, and we're going to click on our title because it is top aligned. Right click, align to top. You can also do this under the, I think it's Arrange tab. There's the align options. And we also need to align right. So click on your header again, and under the Format tab, click Align Right. Okay, so that's what your header should look like. Now we're going to center the title between margins. So click on your title, and you want to pick up this middle part. So when your arrow looks like that, you're going to click and drag until it's directly on top of the right margin of your header. And you should see an orange outline that extends from margin to margin. And under the Format tab, click Center. Okay. Now we're going to center all column headings and detail data in their respective columns. And these are columns. So this is the birthday column. And you can highlight these by holding the control key down to select which ones. We want to select all of them. And there's a quicker way to do that. So you can get outside until you see the arrow like this. And it will highlight all of those fields. And make sure to select the detail as well. And once they're all highlighted, go to Center. And you'll have to click it twice for them to center.
And in this case, the header and the detail were the same size. You will find often that they're not, and you have to make them the same size before you can center everything in a column.
And I can show you how to do that. So let's just say this one is smaller. So click on one and then hold the control key down to click on the other, right click, and you can go to size and click to widest or to shortest, or whichever size you prefer. It's good.
Beth, could you also show coaches how to set margins to 1 inch as the default?
I can do that, yes. So under File, Options, you're going to go to Client Settings and scroll down.
You see numbers.
Until you see Printing, and then set them all at 1 inch. I believe that's how to make a default.
That's it. That does it.
Default theme. Yeah. Okay. And now we need to make everything in the report header and the page header in black bold type, and everything else is going to be in plain black type. So I'm going to go ahead and select the report header. And when you select the report header, make sure it selects the actual header as well, because I know sometimes when I click on it, only the title is selected, like there, only the title is selected. So make sure you also have the header as well. And hold the control key down and you can select the page header. And I'm just going to use the shortcut key Control B for bold. And
Go get the color of it. It's great.
yeah, and so once I've bolded it, I'm just going to do Control A. And everything we want to make black type. Okay. And now we're going to go, before we go to print preview, we're going to go to layout view. And I can show you how to move some of these columns around and make them different sizes. So if you wanted the name column shorter, click on the text and hold the control key down to also select the column header and use your arrow and you can make them bigger or smaller. And once it's all selected, you can also use your arrow keys to move it.
It's particularly useful if you have really a long report with lots of fields that are overlapped.
Yes. I'll just play with this a little bit. And sometimes you'll have summary values or totals down below. Make sure you select those two with your column before you start moving columns, otherwise they're going to stay where they are. Okay, and we're going to go to print preview. And this is where you double check your report and make sure it's on one page and you don't have, sometimes it gets cut off depending if you have lots of columns. So just double check and if you're happy with it, print. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
A couple of questions, yes. Is there a way to make the default font color black?
Not that we know of. Go look and see if you can find something.
And someone else commented, I noticed you clicked automatic, which isn't usually black. Is there a way to default automatic to black?
Oh, I wonder when. I know when you generate a report, it's always gray. And I don't know if you can change that part.
I don't know, but look in the file options and go back to where we were, yeah, and go down and look for where you select Calibri 12. Data sheet maybe.
Oh, data sheet.
No. Yeah, there.
There's font, but not color.
I
We'll have
don't
to look into
think
that.
so. We'll look. If we can find it, we'll let you guys know somehow. Okay.
Are there other questions, David?
Not anything else in our chat box.
Great. Well, if you have other questions or if you're running this later at another time and you run into something, just reach out to us and we'll definitely help you figure that out.
I think that concludes what we had planned. I'm back. I'm kind of flaky. Anyway.
We have a question here. Are we going to have UIL computer applications teams this year?
I'm afraid that that is prohibited by the number of kids. You go ahead and be in the middle. I don't need to be there. The problem is we can't service that many kids at most places that you have your regional and state meets. The state meet is already jammed with people. And if we had teams, we have done a study of the teams in computer science and then lit crit and so on. And what happens is we gain about double the number of people, and we gain probably 2 to 3 coaches to grade. So the grading runs not 3 hours, but 6+ hours. And that's the critical part. So we haven't figured out a way to do it. We've tried some options with David that we say, can we give kids the points for having a team at, you know, smaller meets, but not advance the team to the next section. And a lot of people would like to do that. Anthony's in here somewhere. He's had some say in what he'd like there. And there has also been some talk that we've run by David to, how about giving us a, what do they call it? The free one, somebody extra that gets to go, that gets to advance.
Wild card.
Wild card. And that hasn't happened yet either, but those have been often on the table a while. What we really need, you guys, is more people competing in computer applications. Since they took it off of the requirements, the participation has just slowly ratcheted down.
Some other questions about documents. When are more columns, even when you select for all columns to be on one page, sometimes you still have to resize to fit them, right? Is there a way around that?
No, there's not. Frankly, it's just an awkward way that Access creates column reports. Even when there's plenty of room based on the number of characters that you've told for a field, the fields are wider than that. It's just a kind of a tedious process.
Then a question, will we be able to use 365 in contests since it is an online program?
Well, yes. I think most of it's based, it is an online program, but most of the things you do, you can do offline.
Because we are using it right now, and it's its own application. It's not connected to the internet. I mean, it might be, but I don't know how to explain that.
But yes, you should be able to use it.
Yeah, we have a lot of comments about points and how to award points, and I'll just I'll update you on what we were doing in the study. And people like to compare it with journalism and speech. And the speech points and the journalism points is not comparable to what would happen if we have computer applications points. Because what happens is they take all 5 journalism events and all 5 speech events, and the one school who has the most points, or the 2 schools, because you get a first and second place, those are the ones, that's how they earn a sweepstakes point for journalism, for speech. So it's not just one contest. So there's not other contests we could relate to computer applications to do a similar sweepstakes points, because I know that's a lot of questions people get and comments they get. So that's why that's not an automatic thing. So we are still doing an ongoing study for computer applications, which we've been instructed to do by the UL Legislative Council. So hopefully we'll get a lot of stuff we can ask. We're sort of in the middle of trying to do that. We're waiting for district entries to complete this year, and we were going to try to do some more studies, so that obviously got interrupted. But as we move along, we'll keep trying to figure out ways we can do that, or what we can do, or how we can try to revitalize some interest in computer applications and keep it going and see what we can do with it. So.
We have added some additional things to the UIL web page for computer application. There's a video on doing kind of what we did today. And there's another video on grading. that goes through step by step how to grade. That what we're trying to do is provide more teaching. And
Someone offered a
pardon?
great, I said, somebody offered a great solution. They said, just make BIM required again.
I'm in favor of that. I think that was a mistake to eliminate it. I think the kids, because they can use their phone real fast and play games, do not have any clue what a computer does.
Right. First year coach says they're very excited about doing this, so that's a great comment. Another question about Office 365. How do you prevent contestants from sharing files with an online version?
Well, you don't let them save online. They have to save on their flash drive.
And also, you would have to have should have your Wi-Fi disabled during the competition, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Do that, then they should not be able to hopefully
Right.
share unless, I don't know, Bluetooth's available. So many things change on a daily basis, and heck, I can't keep up with it. But another comment, I know our focus is certification in Word or Excel. Is it difficult to recruit students when they're not comfortable with Access?
It is more difficult. That's why we put so much emphasis in the Capital Conference and the SAC conferences on your kids need to learn to make a database. And every year, that's what we do in the elementary, the first level of the SAC conferences. Because if your kids can create a database and learn to do those two kinds of the report and the two kinds of queries, they can do everything up through district. There's nothing magical that goes on. Now we do tap into some high level things when we get to region and state. And this year, region wasn't going to be quite as difficult as state. And we were making the district test a little more difficult, where there was a bigger jump from district came between invitational B and region, rather than, here I'm back on, rather than district came shortly after invitational B, and then there was a huge jump in difficulty to get to region. I've also had people say, I wish we didn't have access on everything. And the reason we do is if we don't have access on the district test and on the region test, we get people who are exceedingly good in Excel skipping up and then totally flunking because they don't know access. So we almost always have both on the higher level tests, district and up. Actually, it's on invitational B, and all the way up has some access element in it. And most of them also have Excel and Word. There's no easy way. I've recommended for years that the teachers that are actually teaching this move things like Outlook and PowerPoint to the late spring and put Access in the fall so that they learn Word, Excel, and Access. They're going to learn Outlook. They probably already know it. And they're going to learn PowerPoint because it's user-friendly. Of all of those, the only one that is difficult to become friends with is Access. Once you become friends with it, it's great. You can do magical things with it, but it is not as user-friendly. I mean, Excel tells you when you left a comma out. Other questions? What do you wish we were doing, you guys?
Here's a comment in the box that sometimes my students lose points because their chart is in color and the colors are off from the key. They choose blue and it comes out brown. They lose points because it's brown instead of blue. Generally,
we say use a monochrome chart. And blue is not a monochrome chart. We use gray, shades of gray and black. That is our attempt to level the playing field. If everybody has to do shades of gray and black, we can grade it as such.
Great. More comments about Team Point. Lots of comments
Aren't you glad you got to come to our party?
Yeah, I always want to be there. More group, what's the accounting? And so then there's accounting is a contest by itself. There's team points on it. So computer applications could be awarded team points too, but just not have the teams advance. One of the reasons we haven't done that is because there's all those team points, all the sweepstakes points are tied to advancing teams and advancements. So that's one of the reasons we haven't done that yet. So, I mean, I'm certainly will add that idea to the box. When we start doing that, we're going to also start talking about all of those other contests that use computers. And well, then why don't we get to do that? Because then journalism will be saying, well, we are only getting points for a whole team. We should be getting points for our students who are getting to do what they do. So when you open up one little box, when we solve one little problem, we open up 25 others is where this always gets. But what we really want to do is try to figure out how do we get more people involved in computer applications, because we have a lot of schools, even a lot of full districts, like districts of 6 or 8 schools, and they just have 0 entry. And so what we really need from those of you who really love this contest and see the great value that it is how do we get that word out to all of those schools and those teachers who won't participate and get them involved, because I don't think points is going to do that.
Is there some way to work with the teachers that are working with Microsoft accreditation to encourage their participation? Because frankly, the kids that have done well in computer apps do much better than the average student just trying to get accreditation. If we could partner with them, it would be a very positive thing. And I think we'd get more participants. In our meeting last summer before, time slipped, that was one of the things that came up, that there is so much emphasis on accreditation, and their kids that have done well in computer apps have no problem at all being accredited.
Right, and I'm not in the middle of it, but that was maybe some of you teachers who are. I know that one of the accountability rating standards points or something was going to be that Microsoft accreditation, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if anyone knows, if you'll stick it in the chat box or let us know, because that's certainly one of those things that, you know, when we could point out and try to get people more involved and say, you know, these kids are doing perfect. Some more comments. Question about, will there be virtual meets in the 2021 school year? Is there a chance for virtual meets?
There is. There's going to be the problems of how do you ensure that somebody's not standing behind the person helping? You know, the security of it is the issue. But yeah, we had people working right along with us today, and we could have that, but somebody needs to be watching the participants. They need to be all in one room while they're taking the test, and somebody needs to be watching them all. It has its own set of problems, but it's doable. And maybe you just have to trust the coaches to not help their students and have to have every student in a room with a coach where the coach is guaranteeing that they're not getting help. But that one's a problem for everybody.
Yeah, worldwide, trust me.
Yes.
But yeah, it's going to be one of those things that we're right now, what UIL is stating is we're going to do what we can on what's the calendar now. Of course, most of our events are months from now, so we don't know exactly what will happen. But, you know, if we even have to go back and do the at-home experience thing again, if that's our only option, we're going to make sure we try to get something in your hands so you can get it to the kids or something. So, teacher turnover was one of the comments. It's probably why there's a issue, and yes, and with our virtual and online, I'm afraid teacher turnover is going to even be bigger. So, is there talk about this contest moving to a format like the MOS certification?
There's an expense there to be able to buy the program that they use, so to speak, because you ask them how to do something, one thing, and then it goes over there and you can actually do it and it gets graded, which would be great. But I think at that point, every school would have to be a member of that in order to use their format. And my understanding is it's expensive.
Okay. Then regarding the question about accountability, only Word and Excel are counted for accountability. Somebody commented. Over the last few years here in the Valley, we have seen teacher retainment and student involvement has increased. That's great. Thanks for that, Anthony. Hopefully that will keep going. That's what we need. Another comment, access is not a part of the accountability system. Christina recommends certifying a proctor to watch honor and honesty required. Proctors are used when we certify students in CTE certification. So lots of proctor comments. Cameras on, record sessions. Maybe a FERPA issue, we don't know. Plus, if they're cheating on the virtual, it will be apparent at a live in-person contest. Yes, very much so. Good comment. Anything else from anybody?
No, don't you wish we had all bought stock in Zoom about 5 years ago?
Right.
They have taken over the meetings of the world.
Yes, they have indeed. Well, thank y'all very much for joining us. I think that we've got everything answered over here. A lot of thank yous going up in the chat box, but we're going to go ahead and stop our recording now.